This is the future of takeout. The future of takeout. This is some kind of a material. Yes, it's paper, and there is a kind of cool display right in Times Square, right in the middle of Times Square, to show you. You can see the size of this thing and people, and it's a very well done display. And this is now the current takeout. The thing, the foil, don't trash them, and And now there is a paper solution right here, the paper solution, and some things to show you what happened actually with the environment. This is what is going on with the environment using this kind of stuff, styrofoam, plastic, and yeah, let's see here. This is the styrofoam coming out of a sea or the ocean, and this is, what does it say? And apparently this is the new material that will replace all this garbage, right? So finally we're gonna save the planet. But now I wanna point one different point of view. This is the logo of the company. It's called Pratt, and they have a special display here made out of a glass. Made out of glass and sticker, and design pavilion New York today. This couple of days was the design. The design pavilions are in Times Square. So hey, over there, all the way at the end, as you can see, there is a dome. I will go to the dome, but here is the idea about this thing. Oh, my camera, something is wrong with the camera. Let's clean it a little bit, yes. Okay, still not in focus. Aha, better focus. Now let's clean it with the cloth. And here is now, it's good. The future of takeout, actually the future. And some people say this is a paper. We are replacing the paper with the styrofoam, which is a good idea. But just a little bit twist on this idea. Anytime you use paper, you also cut a tree. Just keep that in mind. And by the way, a new way of doing this packaging. It's not here yet in Times Square. That means the idea it's too new. But I'm gonna share this idea. It seems to be new, but it's already for a couple of years, maybe 5 years in production, where this idea is simply algae, kind of algae mixture between algae and and mushrooms. A special type of mushrooms are poured in, a little bit of mushrooms and algae are poured in a special form, and they grow up, and they grow up in the shape of this form, and the form is apparently a box for delivery, or apparently it's a box for Coca-Cola, or apparently it's a box for something. So this little box would be used. And now I just want to tell you that the United States in America is a frontier of this kind of innovations. And if you have recently bought a plasma screen, TV set, LED monitor, or anything that is electronics, it will usually come in a package with styrofoam. So now, in order to protect the item inside, the companies are packaging it with styrofoam around the corners. They put these styrofoam angles, let's call them angles. They put them in the thing, and now one of these innovative companies from United States of America, it's doing this by replacing these styrofoams with biodegradable angles and biodegradable parts that actually they are growing. They do not cut the tree, they just grow this kind of mushrooms, and then you can just take it out of the box, use your LED or plasma screen, and finally you can just throw this mushrooms directly in the garbage, so they are totally biodegradable, and that is the new thing, not that Pratt. That Pratt is just coming up now, but I always wonder why, if we have a technology that is superior to the cutting paper tree technology, is not yet in the marketplace. And some business experts would say that this is usually because the idea is too new to be accepted from people. You know, if you go to YouTube or Google, you can find this kind of companies that are actually growing algae and mushrooms in the form of any type of enclosures, angles around these LED screens or anything. So there you go. We are right here now in Times Square, trying to see what is going on by this is Dugal. Dugal is the leading company in New York for printing, signature, and they are in slightly in advertisement and printing. And here they are, the fancy people are here, the fancy CEOs, and now if you think about it, this is an event that is sponsored by this Dugal, and if you notice, there majority of these people are women. So women in America, even though they claim that there's no jobs for women and women equal pay and all this nonsense, if you look in the real life, you will see the majority of these people here in this kind of conferences are women. So sorry for the man population that used to be in the administration, in the management, in the marketing. It used to be only men, but now a woman can get a job easier than a man, even though in the social media, in the mainstream media, and in any kind of media, this idea is perpetuating so heavily that women somehow they do not get a job, they are not equally paid, and stuff like that. But now this is the real life. If you look at the real life, you will see just its contrary, and somehow American people are kind of sleeping. And I think it's time for the movement of men to regain their rights. You know, somebody should come up with this idea. If you're not coming up with this idea, maybe you should come. If you're a man, or if you're a woman, that would be even better. How about you're a woman and you try to protect the rights of the man? Because let's put it in perspective. In the 1960s, in the 1950s, one man in United States of America, with his regular job, let's say in construction, he was able to feed a family of 4 kids, his wife, and he just had to go and do his job. On the top of that, he could have he was able to have a house, a mortgage on his name, a wife that just stay home, and he could support 4 kids, and he could have 2 cars, brand new American cars. And that is real information from a documentary channel about the life in America in the 50s and the 60s, when the man was man and he had to go and bring the bread home. And now now it's harder for a man to get a job than a woman to get a job. Of course, women are more social. We live in the era of social media, so women have more chance. They are more talkative, they have more insights. In most of the sales jobs, even though now predominantly are men, if it's a woman selling, yes, she can sell more, even though it doesn't look that way. All the retails in the major city of United States are full of women who sell. They are behind the counter, they are the experts on the various items, like the items, and they sell to men and to women equally, and actually they do sell better. So if you're a woman, if you're watching this video and if you're offended slightly, just look at the reality. Look around the office. If you're a woman in the office, just look and count how many women are working, how many men are working, and what are the salaries around yourself, you know. And if you're a woman, stop bragging about that. There's no jobs for women. There's not equal pay and all this stuff. These are things from the past. We are 2018 now, so things are completely different. And when we put also the accelerating process that everything now, since the era of internet, everything now is happening twice faster, 4 times faster, and it will happen faster and faster and faster. If things was happening in the 70s for 10 years, in the 80s they was happening for 5 years, in the 90s they was happening for 3 years, in the 2000s they was happening for 1 year or so, and now every day it's a new thing happening. There is so much happening through the internet that people are actually cannot catch up with what really is going on, because most of the people now, let's put into perspective, where are men? You see that delivery guy with the bike? That's where men are working now. If you see here in Manhattan, if you see a delivery person, these are low paid jobs. Uber drivers, mostly men, low paid jobs, $13 to $15, $10 an hour, $7 an hour. Delivery boy, I have not heard the delivery girl yet, you know. The girls are in the office, doing the office job, doing the selling. So big part of these desks that used to be in the hands of men, they are now in the hands of women. And some women unfortunately live with the old ideas that men should still be the breadwinner. But now things are changing, and things are now changing so rapidly. And I would say that women in the future will have a lot more power than men. Once again, not the first time I'm mentioning this in a video. Women are now gaining a lot of power. There is a global movement of empowering women. Out of 5 men and 5 women, probably 8 women will succeed just because of that promotion. The jobs will, in the big cities like Manhattan, New York City, the big boroughs, you know, in where the offices are, women have a lot more leverage than men. They have more leverage in the social area. Not to mention that some of the bosses are men, so they also have like a hidden agenda when they hire a woman. They first hire the woman for it's just more presentable, right? It's just more presentable. If it's some job that it needs to be presentable, of course it is going to be a woman. It's not going to be a man. And most of the men here in Manhattan are walking like this guy, talking to themselves, you know. Probably not so far ago, a few years ago, maybe 5 years, 10 years, maybe this man was employed man, but now he is like just walking on the street, carrying his bag and talking to himself. And that's another trend in the society. A lot of people are going on the streets of these mega cities and they are talking to themselves, because literally they go crazy somehow. They just go crazy. They have so much stress in their life. And now let's go back on one particular conspiracy theory idea, you know. This comes from a movie of a guy who did a good movie about the Illuminati, right? So now we go into deep conspiracy theory, but his name is Rousseau. He was a famous director. He did a lot of movies. Somehow he got friends with Rockefeller, and in a conversation with Rockefeller, he was very frank about this women movement. And in the interview before he was killed, this guy was killed, in an interview with a conspiracy movement cameraman, he said something like this. When I spoke to Rockefeller, my friend, Rockefeller friend told me, what do you think it's the women movement? Who do you think is behind the women liberation? That is us. That is us, the rich people, the people that control the world. So Rousseau asked Rockefeller, why is it that? And he said, hey, it's very simple. All the way up to 60s and the 70s and in the 80s, we could not taxate, we could not put tax on the women. But now we liberate them, we gave them these rights to go to work, and now another bracket, another big chunk of the population, 50% of the population is now being taxated. In the 40s, in the 50s and in the 60s, right, most of the taxation was going on the head of the man. But now everybody is being taxed. And if you work for a corporation, and if you're on a payroll, you are taxed even before you get your paycheck. Most of the people do not understand this concept, and some people say you're being taxed because the government does not really trust you for you to say how much taxes you should pay. So if you're employed, again, if you're employed, a man or a woman, you're being taxed ahead of time. When you collect your paycheck of $1,000, a big chunk is going to the federal government, local, state governments, double taxation, triple taxation, sales tax, this tax, that tax, and then you keep working in the matrix like a slave to a pay rate that in the United States and America did not change for a good 20 years. The pay rates did not change. Actually, they declined. All the workers in the unions, in a few unions, they have some decent money, but in most of the unions have been destroyed because, for example, how come the Uber drivers do not have their own unions? Because they are so stupid, the Uber drivers. Not stupid, but they are so frustrated with their jobs, they are so focused on the road, they cannot raise their voice against this multi-mega national corporation that actually doesn't pay any taxes, but the Uber drivers pay all the taxes. So the Uber corporation is worldwide phenomenon, and everybody's like, yeah, Uber, yeah, that's right, let me take a Uber. When you take a Uber, or when you take this kind of things, you are enriching a very big corporation, and you are taxating a very little guy who's I'm independent, I can work whenever I want. Yeah, buddy, good that you can work whenever you want on $15 to $20 an hour. Good luck on that choice of yours. So that's it for the moment, and here is the Church of Christ, or whoever it is, you know, Milagros, Señor de los Milagros, and the church. The church is here another institution that it's like going out of business and going out of fashion. Very, very few people find solace, hope, and you know, all these good words in the church. So that's it. If you like this kind of long talks, subscribe. If you like the short talks, subscribe. And do not parking, because the vehicle will be towed away at vehicle owner expense. But of course.